Honestly, not that much surprisingly. But hey, I'm still gonna talk about it. Hello everybody, my name is Christian, and today, truth be told, this is something I really never thought would happen. Honkai Star Rail is receiving its first set of character buffs in the coming patch, with Jingliu, Blade, Kafka, and Silverwolf being the first few characters to be reworked. Today, we're going to be talking about these buffed characters and how to prepare for them. This will involve their new movesets, their ideal relics, and the teams that they'll work best with. Are you ready? Let's begin. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing down below. It helps out a lot, and I really do appreciate it. Also, consider becoming a YouTube member today. There's plenty of good perks, including early access to new videos. Alright, back to it. So, since we have 4 characters getting buffed, all 4 of them will be getting their own unique section. Out of all these characters, my favorite is by far Kafka, so we'll be starting with her. Kafka is a Lightning Nihility character, with one of the most unique movesets in Star Rail. No other character currently in the game has the ability to replicate what she does, detonating DOTs on enemies with her skill. This does a great deal of damage if the enemy has a few DOTs already applied. It makes Kafka a character that was almost irreplaceable for the team archetype. Now, let's take a look at her buffs. First of all, in a very nice change, her skill can now detonate DOTs on all enemies and not just a single target. This is extremely nice considering it now allows Kafka to do a lot more damage in 3 target scenarios. The biggest change to her kit, however, is definitely her follow-up attack. This follow-up now gets multiple uses, and her ultimate will regenerate a use of it as well. If that was the only change, that wouldn't really be that impressive though, now would it? What makes this a real buff is that alongside this, one of her major traces was changed as well. This follow-up will now detonate enemy DOTs just like Kafka's skill. Not to mention, any use of ultimate will get you a trigger for this follow-up back, meaning you can use it to detonate again. To me personally, this is absolutely the biggest change by far, and it is amazing. It also comes at absolutely no cost, as ultimate can still detonate DOT damage as well. That raw damage of getting to use skill, get that level of damage probably 2 more times by your teammates attacking, and then coming back to your turn to restart the cycle is incredible. This is a pretty good way to improve the damage dealing capabilities of DOT's premier character without actually changing the core formula like some people were worried about. Nice part is, this isn't even the end too. Kafka's last buff is she apparently can increase her allies' attack now. While they didn't reveal what affects this currently, I saw a rumor saying it would be affect hit rate, so I'm just gonna go with it since I try to avoid leaks in these videos, so yep, affect hit rate. Why not, man? So, with your new and improved Kafka, what should you be looking to equip her with? Well, I have good news for any of you who already have a built Kafka. Your ideal relic set is still going to be Prisoner in Deep Confinement, as it's the only set that really benefits DOT in the current day. However, you're going to want different substats going forward. With the change to Kafka, Kafka now needs more effect hit rate than before. All in all, your stat priority is still going to be hitting your speed breakpoint of 135 or higher, but now your effect hit rate is going to matter a lot more. While Kafka's DOT is far from the best, she still really wants it to increase her detonate damage. You'll definitely want to keep this new requirement in mind when rebuilding your Kafka. As for planars, there's not really a big change here. For Kafka specifically, Glamoth is still very helpful for her as she relies a lot on her damage compared to DOT output. There is also a reason to now consider the IPC planar set as it increases effect hit rate and increases attack proportional to it. I'm mentioning this because I know somebody will bring it up in the comments, so yes Dave, it can work. Next up is light cones, and of course if you have Kafka's signature, that would be the best for her. If you don't have it however, I would look into Goodnight Sleepwell S5 as your next best option, with everything else pretty far below it in terms of effectiveness. With Kafka being more damage than debuff oriented, a lot of signature Nihility light cones really don't work for her unfortunately. Now, let's finally move on to our last section, teams. Yeah, Kafka's teams are all the exact same as they used to be. She has a reliance on debuffs and DOT to really accomplish absolutely anything, so running her without those teammates is going to make her about as helpful as a screen door on a submarine. Your best team with Kafka is going to be her, Black Swan, Robin, and a sustain of your choice. Huohuo is by far the preferred option for this team, but all the other sustains are perfectly capable as well. For some players, there is also the fun lineup of Acheron with DOT. This team lineup is usually far less optimal, but definitely a lot of fun as well. Your main two characters here will be Acheron and Kafka as your sub DPS. In that third slot, you have a few options that will definitely have different merits. I think in a perfect world, an E2 Jiao Cho would be an amazing teammate in this situation, but I'm not really sure how many people have that. Some other options for this slot can include Silverwolf, Pela, and Black Swan as a big one. This is also a more interesting team to run if you want to attempt 0 cycles compared to a traditional DOT team. Just slap Tribby or Robin in the back, and you'll have quite the force ready to go. With that, we have finally wrapped up Kafka, so I'm going to move on to the character I think will take the next longest to explain, Silverwolf. Silverwolf is a Quantum Nihility character who serves as a defense shredder. She was one of the best in the game for a long time, until more enemies started entering fights, and her damage increase number was slowly crept up on by the likes of Jiao Cho and Cypher. The aspect of her buffs that actually matters is pretty simple. Her ultimate, which reduces enemy defense by about 45%, is now AoE. This itself is a huge buff, and pretty easily makes her better than Pela finally. Not only does her defense reduction last longer, she does more damage overall, but combined with her bugs, this defense shred is about the same as Pela with a Resolution Shines light cone. This means you have access to even more options for light cones, like her signature if you want to increase her personal damage substantially, or before the tutorial mission starts to increase energy regen and affect hit rate. While in most cases Silverwolf still won't be a substantial damage dealer, this is still a nice change for the character whose entire purpose was to be a debuff bot. It now allows her to contribute just that little bit more to your overall damage. Our last note to make here is Silverwolf now has a trace changed where she will regenerate energy at the start of each of her turns. This can be absolutely insane in the right hands, and I just want to say that now because I know there's going to be a lot of comments about it. As an example, with this trace, an energy regen rope, and a tutorial mission light cone at S5, hitting a defense reduced enemy with skill will get you almost half your ult back instantly. I'm not even going to mention what E1 can do with this. This rapid increase in Silverwolf's energy gain really opens up the door for her to be played in more ways, or in a far more efficient style, which is exactly what she needs to be competitive in today's meta. This instantly catapults her over a character like Pela, and lands her to be in the same spot as someone like Cypher. While Cypher has a natural edge combat-wise, Silverwolf can increase damage taken more than Cypher can. There are now 3 characters in the Nihility role who can really destroy enemy defense, and hey, more options is always welcome. Let's move on to your build now. Silverwolf is a versatile character with a few options to build her. For my min-maxers out there, the Eagle of Twilight set is best. The action advance after ult is perfect to increase the speed of a fight and allow for even more debuffs and more damage from your teammates ideally. For people wanting a pure support Silverwolf, the Messenger set is fantastic, as it increases the speed of you and allies in its 4-piece form. Genius of Brilliant Stars is also a great set for Silverwolf. This will decrease enemy defense by 20% essentially, since Silverwolf can always plant a quantum weakness. Lastly is if you want a damage-based Silverwolf. I would recommend Genius again, and Pioneer Diver of Dead Waters can also be a great option to increase your damage. The reliance on debuffs will never be an issue for Silverwolf, meaning you'll always get the full effect out of it. This same versatility also applies to Silverwolf's light cone options, although I would still recommend either her signature or before the tutorial mission starts in most scenarios. These are simply good cones and amplify everything that she wants to do. Now, let's go on to teams. Silverwolf teams are pretty simple, and since she's a support, it doesn't mean she has a specific team built for her in most cases. Anywhere that you use Jiao Cho or Cypher, you can now use Silverwolf. She works with Ratio, Acheron, Kafka, Anexa, Mighty, and more. There is no current best place for Silverwolf, but there also isn't a horrible place for Silverwolf at this point. If you like her, then hey, you can probably use her, which is going to be great for all the Wolf players out there. That's 2 down and 2 to go, with our next 2 characters receiving very similar changes. Jingliu and Blade have both had their movesets overhauled to reflect what they should have been in the first place: HP scaling units. All of their moves now reflect these changes, with their percentages being changed around as a result, but their core movesets are still completely intact. I'll still try and call attention to important changes, but most of the skills won't be talked about for these 2. Let's start with Blade, since I've already done the other two Stellaron hunters. Blade is a wind destruction character, who was formerly one of the worst designed hybrid characters in the game. He had a necessity for attack, high HP, and crit stats all at once. Now, his attack is completely useless, being entirely HP driven. That itself is already a massive change, but his major traces and skill also got reworked a little. His follow-up attack can now regenerate more energy, and his skill will now make him more likely to be targeted. All in all, these are simple adjustments, but with the success of HP scaling characters in the current meta, Blade's changes now make him far more competitive, and make him an excellent sub-DPS option for any of the premier HP scalers in the game. This is mainly focused on Jingliu and Casterus, but hey, Mighty Blade could also be pretty interesting. Main DPS Blade is also an option with characters like Tribby and Hyacin ready to help him out, but that is naturally much harder to pull off. So, what gear does Blade want? Well, your best set is one that's not often used for DPS characters, with it being Longevous Disciple. This is perfect for Blade since it not only increases max HP, but can give up to 16% additional crit rate when he loses HP, which, by the way, will be constantly. This set is by far his best, so I would recommend getting it above all else. You can do two-piece mixes of sets giving crit rate and HP, but you will ultimately get a worse product. As for an ideal planar, the Bone Collector set should be perfect for him. You get a massive crit damage bonus just for having a lot of HP, which Blade most definitely will have. Your next best alternative is pretty easily Rudolin Arena since it gives crit rate and increases the primary damage that Blade dishes out. There isn't a massive difference in these two sets, so if you don't have enough Bone Collector options, then don't really stress out too much. Last but not least, Light Cone options. These are pretty stock standard, with his 3 best options being 5-star cones, with his signature, Mighties, and Yun Li's cones, all being pretty good for him. Outside of these, your best 4-star option will be Ninja Record, which definitely isn't great, but it's better than Secret Vow at least. All in all, Blade's buffs improved a flawed character into what he should have been to begin with. His numbers still won't be anywhere near as high as other characters in his archetype, but it is far better than where he was at before. I vaguely went over Blade's ideal teams earlier, so I'll keep this one brief. He pairs super well with Jingliu and Casterus as a sub-DPS. If you want something wacky, you can also run Hyper Carry Blade, or him and Mighty together, although I wouldn't really recommend those nearly as much. For your ideal Blade team, I would say Blade, Tribby, Sunday, and Hyacin. He gets a lot more max HP, a lot of extra damage to help him defeat enemies, and overall, these are some of the strongest characters in the entire game. Now, you've just got to lose a 50-50 to Blade, which, yeah, that might take a while. And yes, I know he's gonna run on banner. I don't recommend pulling him, just try and lose a 50-50. Last character of the day, let's talk about Jingliu. Jingliu is an ice destruction character, who was kind of Firefly before Firefly. Not in the break sense, but in the sense she had an enhanced form she had to build up to that allows her much better damage and combat ability overall. Jingliu's whole gimmick is gaining 2 of her stacks to enter her enhanced form. She gains 50 crit rate, gets an enhanced skill, and does way more damage, now being able to deal blast damage. The biggest change with Jingliu, besides her being HP based now, she now gains another stack for her enhanced state when she enters it. So instead of the usual 2 stacks, she jumps straight to 3, which is huge as that used to be formerly locked behind an Eidolon. The most important part of Jingliu is staying in that form to deal as much damage as possible. With this change, she can now save ultimate to jump straight to 4 stacks when she gets into her form. This will give her team much more time to restore her energy and get her another ultimate to extend this form. She can also now gain stacks by her teammates losing HP, meaning she can pair super well with characters who consistently drain their own HP or like getting hit. This all leads to more damage overall and a better character. A simple improvement yet again, but the character is dramatically improved as a result of it, which I love to see. These changes allow Jingliu to simply be a lot better, but it also opens up a few new interesting lineups. We'll touch on that later though. Let's move on to her ideal gear. Jingliu's ideal gear is almost identical to what it is now, but with HP being preferred over crit for a little bit. You'll want the Scholar Loss and Erudition set as it increases skill and ultimate damage, while giving Jingliu that extra amount of crit she needs to reach 100%. Your best alternative would once again be using 2-piece sets that increase crit rate or HP usually, but yeah, just try and get a full set of Scholar. An important note here, speed is actually pretty hit or miss for Jingliu. If you're running a hyperspeed character, no speed on Jingliu is perfectly fine, which makes building more crit and HP even easier. Otherwise, right around 135 speed is where you want to land. For Planars, Bone Collector is once again a top choice for HP scaling units. Rudolin Arena has been Jingliu's best for ages though, and it's not going anywhere, with its effects being perfect for what Jingliu does. You can run either or, but I'm pretty sure Rudolin still has the edge nowadays. Finally, we run into the first issue that these buffs are going to cause, Jingliu's light cones. If you have her signature light cone, that's perfect, you are all good. For people who don't, you may struggle a bit with alternatives. Her usual best option is the fall of an Aeon cone from her to shop, but that no longer benefits her in any way. Looking on the bright side, the signature cones of Mighty and Blade now work for her, but much more so Mighty's. They both use skill and ultimate as their primary attacks, meaning Jingliu can really profit off of that cone. In terms of some 4-star options, Secret Vow is far better than any other option as of right now. Ninja Record should really be your last resort. With that said, we're almost done. Time for one more team section. So, the first thing I thought of when these buffs were announced besides, oh my god, Kafka is back, was the old Jingliu Blade pairing. Both these characters now scale off HP and work together very well since Jingliu constantly drains Blade's HP. We also have Tribi in the game who can increase this even further. This team on paper is looking pretty devastating if done right. Combo this with a character like Hyacin ideally, and you'll have another amazing HP scaling team if you really hate the Amphorius characters. Otherwise, I would look into using Jingliu as your main carry, or maybe even alongside someone like Castris or Mighty for fun. This is probably far from practical, but hey, I never promise practicality with these videos. The best team to look at here would be Jingliu, Sunday, Tribi, and Hyacin or Huohuo. This gives you all the sustain you'll need, while also having Tribi here to increase HP and overall damage. And with that, we are finally done for the day. This was a decent bit of work and had to be done pretty quickly, so if I got anything wrong or skipped over something that you thought was important, my apologies. I do hope you all enjoyed though, and are looking forward to these characters getting such big improvements. Leave a comment down below with who you're most excited for, and maybe subscribe too. Lots of good videos coming out soon, so I'll see you guys then. Bye-bye.